Life and faith, the two are intimately connected. For more than 2 decades, Life and Faith Television has painted pictures and told stories of faith journeys here in southwestern Ontario. Join us now as we continue the tradition. We explore the diversity in our lives of faith and the faith of our lives.
Good morning and welcome to Life and Faith. We have 3 stories to share with you this week. The town of Goderich was put on the map, as they say, last summer by the fact that an F3 tornado nearly blew it off the map. We share a conversation from a faith perspective with the student supply minister from Victoria Street United Church, a church that was in fact destroyed. Then St. James Roseland Church in Windsor hosts us for a discussion about the catechumenate. Stay tuned to learn more about that. And finally, we share some beautiful music from the Valley View Men's Chorus under the direction of Henry Bolt. This is indeed a treat for Life and Faith viewers. Sunday, August 21st, 2011 is a date that will go down in history and never be forgotten by folks in and around Goderich, Ontario. Student Supply Minister Tom Dunbar sits down with Matthew Penny and shares the physical and psychological experiences of his congregation who lost their church home. How did it affect them, and where do they go from here? Let's listen as they chat.
Tom, tell me what you were doing and what happened on that Sunday afternoon last summer.
Well, it was a quiet Sunday afternoon, as is prone to be in our family on a Sunday afternoon for obvious reasons. And the wind was blowing, a little bit of rain came through, and we had commented on that type of thing. And about a half an hour after the tornado actually came through, we got our first phone call.
So one thing would be to think about the church, but the other thing would be, of course, to think about your people.
Oh, it was the people was first on the whole thing. I mean,
Right.
the church was a building, a much beloved building, but honestly, our understanding at that point was the church had some damage.
Yeah.
But we didn't realize how much.
Well, when you found out, it was a lot.
Yes, that was the late that night. I actually saw my first photograph of the church. Somebody had sort of snuck through in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and came down and took a picture and posted it online. And I was here the first thing the next morning at 8 o'clock the next morning, and sort of made my way around the police roadblocks.
Tell me, were any of your people hurt in the tornado?
Incredibly, only one. And they live across town, and he got hit by a flying branch in the leg, and he still walks with a limp.
Oh,
But it pierced his leg. But that was the only person hurt. The number of homes that were greatly impacted were pretty much every member of the congregation.
Wow.
Had some degree of damage, and we're all who had homes. And then the number of folks that have been psychologically impacted is everyone. I mean, everyone has been devastated by this. Not just because of the church, because of the town, but the church added to it that much more. There's their faith home destroyed.
well, people do put their faith in the building. As much as we want to say the church is the people, it's not the building, people still find, it's like the old temple in Jerusalem. They put their faith in that building. That's the home of it.
It's true, it's where it was focused, but I was very surprised that right across the board in the congregation, everyone's understanding was, well, this is a wonderful building, and there's a tremendous history here, and we've had encounters with the Holy Spirit, with God here. There's no question. Our children were baptized here. Maybe we were baptized here. Mm-hmm. When weddings and funerals and all these events that tie us all together as community, but right away, everyone realized the church needed to come down.
There was some disagreement about that, though, amongst engineers and stuff. Though.
Well, no, the engineers knew flat out within a couple of days when they first entered the building and checked it out, and that was with TV cameras and all that kind of stuff. They checked out the building, and they declared the building needed to come down for safety reasons immediately. The congregation was 100% behind that.
They understood the reality.
Yes,
Right.
I found no dissension in the congregation at all in that. Now, there was a great deal of sadness and grief over that. However, they understood the reality of it. And we're very grateful that no one was hurt, considering The front wall of the church was blown in. Bricks were spread everywhere in the sanctuary, throughout every pew, and the two side walls were blown right out the side of the church, and no one was in the church because it was about 4 o'clock.
You had service in the morning.
We had a very busy service in the morning. It was communion, obviously the last communion that we'd have on the site. Was in the morning, and 24 hours to the minute before, the church was packed with a wedding when that storm blew through. Luckily not a tornado.
Yeah, wow. Well, the question people are going to ask now is, the church is a blank lot. Nice little bit of gravel out there, and you're in a construction trailer for your office, and you're going forward. Where are you worshiping?
We're Victoria Street, Ben Miller is a 2-point charge.
Right.
And Victoria Street for a while was just down the road at a restored train station. Tried that for about a month, and that worked out okay. However, they realized that that was not going to work out for the long term.
Right. Just
as
a
the weather
temporary
got
thing.
as the weather got poor, and all that type of thing, there was going to be issues with that. And so there was a great deal of discussion, and a number of other churches have offered space. But the congregation decided, and it was a difficult decision, but they decided that they'd like to maintain their independence.
Okay.
And ultimately their decision was, well, we need to go to Ben Miller for a while and be with them. Because Ben Miller, just after the tornado, through no fault of their own, just the realities of 21st century demographics in the country, Ben Miller was looking at closing their building. And so there's a little early talk of possibly the two churches coming together. They have a long history together since the 50s.
Right.
They've been a single charge.
Right.
And so Victoria Street decided, well, we'll go to Ben Miller.
Well, have you been getting pressure or hints or pushing at all from Presbytery or Conference as to what the church should do with its future?
Oh, everybody has an opinion.
Oh, sure.
Everybody had an opinion from the minute of the tornado. In fact, there's been opinions for years on what needs to be done here. But generally, the folks that have an opinion don't have an understanding.
Well, that's an important differentiation, isn't it?
That's right, of the culture and the faith of the people that are here and the work that's been done. For years, people commented that, well, that's silly to have two united churches in Goderich. And they're not talking even about Ben Miller being on the outside of town here. It's only 10 minutes away. They're talking about the two separate charges right here in town. Oh, that's silly. They need to come together. Well, maybe in theory, yes. However, the two churches have always had a very different culture, and have been doing very good work. And so I was always amazed why people didn't say and take it as a point of pride that there were two united churches in Goderich, because they're doing such good work.
So you think that realistically, can Ben Miller and Victoria Avenue come together and be in a different building somewhere that would and become a strong congregation?
It would have been possible, but at this point they've decided that they wish to talk to other congregations around, that ministry itself here's an opportunity. The ministry itself needs to be readdressed in the Goderich area. How can we do things better in the future? Not only for United Church people, but for the community, more importantly for the community. And so they've had casual talks with North Street United over amalgamation, which have gone off so successfully well that all three churches have voted to pursue amalgamation formally.
Okay.
And so that's the road they're on right now, and which is very exciting.
You got a lot of media coverage on this. You must have been, as you personally, your name was in the TV and the paper and all that. It must have been a bit wearing.
There were some long days, yes. Yeah.
But you held up well, as the saying goes.
I was blessed enough that my previous career before this, as an oil spill biologist, I had a lot of training in disaster management.
How excellent. The Lord works in mysterious ways.
Well, there's no question there. And that was always the big joke when I started this process of becoming a minister was, oh, you're disaster management trained, you're perfect for the church. Little did we know. Well, we don't know what will happen with the building itself of North Street. We don't know what will happen as the people come together, but we do know that, it is an exciting time.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I hope this goes well, and we're going to keep tabs on Tom and Goderich to see how things go in the future.
Okay. Thank you very much.